This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing. A magazine called Shoot. Remember Shoot? I remember the good old days. And that was when I was a kid growing up. We'd always used to get Shoot. And recently I came across an article from exactly 45 years ago. And it was an article about Ally Robertson. And it was there that Albion manager Ron Atkinson was sounding off a little bit. And he expressed amazement and maybe a bit of frustration as well that Ally Rob hadn't been picked for Scotland. And I put the article on one of those Facebook pages, and people commented, certainly very much so that they agreed with Big Ron. So we caught up with Ally and we spoke at length about the article. Right, so there we are. 45 years ago. It's amazing, isn't it, Ally? How quickly time flies.
It is. You can't believe it. 45 years ago, and you look back and you can't. I can't even remember that being in the press.
No. So it was a big, quite a big thing in Shoot, wasn't it? So Ron Atkinson really praising you. So you weren't really aware of that at the time.
No, for Ron to have said that was absolutely brilliant. And now that you've seen it, it makes you feel fantastic. But it's just a shame that it says like I didn't get any caps or anything. I wasn't even in a squad. And for me, like I played for Scottish schoolboys. I then was lucky enough to go into the youth team. But then I broke my leg and I was out for a year and I just seemed to go, I missed them.
Yeah. Mm. I mean, the amazing thing as well, at this time, I mean, we all knew how good he was. Because, I mean, you were having the team come through every week. And the two a lot of them were standard names, and it was always Wyle Robertson, and then Batson, Wyle, Rotherham, Statham. And that's all, you never had to ask him about it, what the formation was. And he was good. I mean, just remember, when they wrote that, Albion were third in the table in the first division. Everybody was talking about them. The manager of Scotland was Ali MacLeod, who, let's face it, was not the greatest of all time. And he was picking squads of 40 people, and he was picking centre-halves from St Mirren, Queen of the South, Brecon City, Arbroath. They couldn't tie this bloke's shoelaces.
No. And for me as well, what was big disappointment for me was how many times he'd come down to watch Willie Johnson. And it was so funny that every time he come down, I played out of my skin. And even Willie after the game says, "Oh, he's mentioned you." But then nothing ever come from it. And it's like Bob says, and then to see when they get the 40 squad out and to see players from second and third division in Scotland, and here was us, third in the first division, and not even got a mention.
Yeah. It was,
but like you're saying, I feel the same as well. Wiley, the two of us, we got nothing.
Yeah.
The two of us got nothing. And yet everybody would say, we always get picked in the first or top three or top four defensive two in the league. But the two of us never ever got picked for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ron with his motivational techniques there, I suppose, really in that way. In a way, he was trying to motivate you as well, wasn't it, by saying what he did?
Well, again, when he come, I still remember it myself. The first game we played was away from home at Middlesbrough. And again, it was one of those games where you played well. And Big Ron next week, I thought, it's like he says there, and the thing, I don't think he'd ever heard of me or even knew who I was. But then all of a sudden we got great together, and he knew that we had a great back four at the time, and he just used to more or less leave us alone. And he knew that he didn't have to say it. And it's like he said there, the only time we ever got a mention was when we made a mistake.
Yeah.
See, what you've got to remember during this as well, I mean, this was done in Shoot magazine. Now, we were pushing for Ally and for a lot of all Albion players to be getting into international recognition. And, when you get it into a national magazine like Shoot, you think, oh, now he's got a chance. But, I mean, I always remember the Evening Mail started a campaign to get Brian Robson into the England squad. And when he eventually got into the England setup, Ron Greenwood went across to him and he said, "Are you Brian Robson?" And he said yes. He said, "Oh, you're the one everybody's telling me I've got to pick."
Oh, right.
And I just said about as much about Ron Greenwood.
Yeah, London centric as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And it's the same as I look back and I was so lucky to be in a back four like we were with Brendan, John, myself, and Derek. And Derek, who was absolutely out of this world, he didn't. How many caps did he get?
Mm-hmm.
And that was so sad that Sanson got on in front of him. And Derek was so unlucky as well that every time Sanson got injured, Derek got injured. And if he had got in and played 3 or 4 games on the trot, they would have seen how great he was. Yeah. And he probably would have kept the position. Yeah. But everybody said from the start that because you're not in London or Manchester, it's very hard to get into the unless you actually win something.
But how long were we pushing for Cyril to get into the England side? Into the side? Yeah, and that took a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but simply because, I mean, the story, I mean, we always knew. The further south down the M1 you were, the better chance you've got of playing for England.
But it's like you mentioned earlier with Pop, Brian Robson. Brian at the time was playing out of his skin. He was absolutely brilliant. And we were all saying to ourselves, how come he's never been into the England squad? But then all of a sudden he gets into the England squad. He gets transferred to Man United. He now becomes captain. Yeah. He now goes on forever. Fantastic.
Yeah, great. So 45 years ago then from this article, it ends up by talking about and saying about that previously you were almost ready to ask for a move. So was that under Don Howe? Was it towards the end of... Was it Don Howe?
Don Howe. Yeah. When Don Howe had dropped me and I was ready to move because I just said, I went in to see him how many times and he just kept on saying, you're in the reserves, you're in the reserves, you're in the reserves. And my contract was going to be coming up to it. And then I says, well, why don't you even let me go? And how many teams come to me and wanted me to go on loan? But I says, no, I don't want to go on loan. If I go somewhere, I want to go and sign for somebody. And but then I was so lucky that Gilesy came and me and Gilesy got on absolutely great together. And those 2 years that John was there, the club took off. And that is where then, of course, that's my top 2 managers is John, who was I think was absolutely brilliant. Then Big Ron took over. And to be involved with Albion in those 4-6 years was absolutely brilliant.
You know, when Big Ron took over, so he came from Cambridge, didn't he? So was it virtually unknown then? What were you lot thinking about a bloke from Cambridge coming in?
Well, again, we were just looking at and saying, whoever comes in, the way that I always looked at it, as long as he picks you, he's a good manager. Yeah. And because I had a few bad ones that I thought were Don Howe, Ronnie Allen, Ron Saunders, Ron Wiley, they all didn't really pick me or press me or push me for anything. But then when Gilesy, Big Ron and that comes in, Alan Ashman, it was great to be pushed up and told this is a good player coming in. And that then creates the dressing room. And that to me, for everything in football, if the dressing room's right, the pitch will be right. And that to me was always great.
It was funny when Ron got the job, because when they appointed him, apparently one of the directors said, I want to show you something. And they took him outside and they said, that's your company car. And it was, one of the big Jags or something. And Ron turned around and said, oh, I got the one up from there.
But to be fair to Big Ron, he come in and he didn't try to be I am. He just come in, trained with us, he made us do the things, and he just told us this is how we want to play. And he more or less kept everything going, the same as what Gilesy had done, and which was great. He didn't try to change anything, he just kept it all going. And it's the same momentum, same everything. He brings Brendan in, and we just went straight up. It was brilliant.
It was a fantastic time. It's funny enough. I was listening to somebody talking the other day, and I was saying about how newspapers have gone now. And he said, the 70s, all throughout the 70s, early 80s, that was the golden age of journalism, and it was. Yeah. It was. That's when the newspapers were newspapers. Now, them just giveaway sheets.
To be fair, Bob, we all got on well with you all, and we would talk to the reporters. If there was anything happening, we'd actually say, do you know about this? Do you know anything that's happening with it? Or we'd then go to them. We'd hear a whisper about something happening. What's happening there? And they would tell us what's going on. And that was great. There was we would never say anything bad about each other. And that was a great thing about it. That was absolutely fantastic. I'd hate to be in it now where you're scared to say a word and it's taken out of all proportions and put up there somewhere where you don't want it to be. And that's when it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Don Howe was here, the manager, and I used to ring up for the opposition newspaper, Ipswich or Manchester or whatever, and get their team. And this is when the time, at 11 o'clock, the manager would give out the team. There was no sort of, from. If they said from, it meant he got a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
And he was going to have fitness tests. And you knew who the fitness tests were going to be on. Now, you can't even do from. Because they just give you a list of 30-odd names.
Yes.
So that's why there's no team news in newspapers anymore. Because they don't give them out. But we used to give the team out. And then I would come up to if I came up to see Don after training, I'd have the opposition team that they were going to play against on the Saturday. So he could start his work then, because they knew that was going to be the team. And the same with us. We were giving the opposition what the Albion team was.
Yeah.
But I mean, it picked itself. Yeah, they said, what's the Albion team? Well, what do you think it's going to be? It ain't going to be, from. It's only from if you got Ali injured or you got John Wall injured. And there was somebody gone in there like Dave Rushbury. If Dave Rushbury's name was in there, you know him full well. One of the centre halves is injured and they're going to have a fitness test.
Yeah. Brilliant, some great memories there from 45 years ago. And the article, Ali, ends by saying Atkinson must be counting his lucky stars that Robertson stayed at the Albion.
No, I was so lucky that I was involved in that team under, like I said earlier, those 4 years, 6 years was absolutely brilliant. I could have gone to Rangers, and that was the only transfer that I did go to Big Ron and ask. I would like to go, because my dad was dying of cancer, and he always wanted me to go to Rangers. And I says, he's got 2 years to live. I says, it'd be lovely for my dad to see me go out in a Rangers strip. I says, but apart from that, I would never have wanted to leave the Army. Never ever.
That last paragraph, you could also add the Wolves also. Because if he'd have gone, when he could have gone, he wouldn't have gone to the Wolves. And how much would they have missed him?
But again, that was so lucky that a certain manager who I hated, and we just did not get on together. And I was so lucky that, because as I left the Albion, we left under a big cloud. After being there for 18 years, and then leaving like that was horrible. But as I left, I went, wherever I go, because I thought I'd be going to a second or third or fourth division club. And I says, wherever I go, I hope we pass each other. And it's a horrible thing. 3 years after, Albion go first, second, third. Wolves go first, third, second, and we bypass each other. And that was it was fantastic for me to see that, because thinking what you done to me. But as an Albion player, an Albion fan, it was horrible to watch. But it was great on the other side to see Wolves come from absolutely nothing back up. And that's the only thing that I just think, if I could have played for another year and got them into the first division, so it would have been fourth, third, second, first, that would have been absolutely fantastic. And that's the only other thing that I look back and you think, for the Albion, what a great team we had, but we didn't win anything. And there was at the Wolves. I won the fourth division, third division, sixth, then won the Sheffield Baden trophy at Wembley. You think, good God. And that team couldn't have laced that team's boots. And that's how you look back. But that's how life is. That's how life is. And that's what happens.
This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.
This is Black Country Extra.